Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Press Play Lifestyle Inspired podcast, where we do interviews with individuals like Dr. Rita Louise here, to help our listeners find the resources, tools, and support they need to be their best inspired selves. So, Dr. Rita, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay in spite of everything that's going on the planet right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, would you mind just giving the audience, introducing yourself to the audience so they kind of know who you are and a little bit about you?
Sure. So again, my name is Dr. Rita Louise. I work as a medical intuitive. I'm a naturopathic physician, which is a kind of like a chiropractor, but it works with people using herbs and supplements and anything non-invasive to the body. So no drugs, no slice and dice, to help bring about health and wellness. I've
Oh,
written a bunch of books, done a lot of videos, and I do stuff.
yeah, I did stuff. I'm good. So, just timely, because you kind of mentioned it at the beginning, and we had obviously we prepped before the interview. One of the things that I think a lot of us, even if we don't realize it, might be struggling with or being affected by is sort of the energy of the whole planet. It kind of feels like right now with the, obviously there's timing wise, there's a coronavirus or COVID-19. And for those people who are more medically intuitive or a little more in touch with things outside of maybe just everyday things, is there been an effect on you or your clients that is maybe more observable to you than the rest of us?
It's not, there's the observable part, but there are a very large segment of the population that are just sensitive, whether they're empathic or they're just sensitive or they don't realize that they're sensitive, but they are sensitive. And as human beings, we're designed to send and receive information from the world around us, kind of like little cat whiskers that we can kind of pick up on, invisible energy. And so when people are running around like the sky is falling and there's all of this fear on the planet and uncertainty. So there's, fear of getting sick, but then there's I'm not working now. My grandparents live in New York City. What's going on with them? Are they sick? I can't, all of that. Everyone is affected. And so even if in your life, like I live in Podunk, Texas, you know what I mean? And I have a good life. And so there's not anything in my personal life that is being affected by what's going on. But personally, I am really being affected by what's going on, where I'm really tired. I feel like the life has been drained out of me. I feel really good for a while and then have these waves of just feeling
Hmm.
exhausted or
That
wanting
makes
to take a
sense.
nap.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. So I know there's a very minor change. I've been blessed right off my 4 small humans. I've been home, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought, and I tend to be sensitive. I don't know what that means, but I tend to be a little bit sensitive. And my kiddos, they're really good. They're being amazing, right? They're being really good. But I'm so tired. Like I feel like I've run 1,000 marathons,
Yes, ma'am.
and I'm not particularly doing more, right? I'm not like, I mean, a little bit, maybe a little more, making sure the kids have work to do, but just this wave of utter exhaustion from,
Girlfriend, you're picking it up.
yeah, it's just, it's really, it's nearly debilitating. And not
Yeah.
always, right? It feels like it's sort of maybe wavy, like it
Well,
comes in
yeah.
and is really heavy, and then
And then
maybe
you're
I can,
back.
then I'm back, and I was like, what the mother? Wow, I get, because I'm not, I mean, of course things are affecting us. My mother and father-in-law are older. They won't stay home because they were told to, but before that they never left, right? So but people are behaving, um, I would say many of them in the opposite way that I'm used to them behaving.
Mm-hmm.
Like mom and dad never leave the home. They're kind of shut-ins. And then as soon as this happens, dad's gone out every day. Like, and we're on the stay-at-home order. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? So just lots of behavior even being, and if it was probably heightened stress, right? Or
Right. You know, and when we're picking up that energy, it affects everybody differently. You know, so somebody can have a lot more worry and anxiety that is compounding what's going on. You know, for somebody else, it can make them be tired. You know, for me, I it's a little bit of a roller coaster. You know, it's like I'm tired, then I'm okay, then I'm like I got all these emotions going on, and you know, and so, and I just think, you know, right at this point in time, raising people's awareness to there's this stuff going on inside that we don't really understand why. It's because the world is crazy.
yeah. So is there, just from your perspective, and maybe not, but are there ways that people can like kind of be aware that maybe there's stuff going on that is really not their cause, and how they can, I don't know, maybe cope is the right word, or sort of
Hmm.
resiliency through that day so they can kind of make it on to the next day and keep going?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I think, um, you know, first of all, kind of just doing a little bit of a personal inventory. Do I have food to eat? Do I have toilet paper? The all important question. Uh,
Things are
you
getting
know,
dicey by us, but
um, you know, are there any family members that I'm worried about? You know, but just really doing an inventory of what's going on in your life, and are there things that I can contribute this feeling really tired or this feeling really anxious, you know, or my sleep cycles being messed up, you
yeah,
know. And if you say no to a lot of these answers, like you have some concerns about your parents, but they're not sick, they're not in the hospital, you
right.
know. So on a scale of 1 to 10, it might be a 3 or 4, you
Yeah,
know, it's
it's
kind of
a
low
slow
grade.
burn. Yeah, it's a slow
Yeah,
burn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that that's number one. I think just being kind to yourself, you know, if you're feeling tired, maybe give yourself a chance to take a break and rest. If you have the opportunity, you know, if you have a house, you know, and if you can get outside, I mean, I don't know how it is where you are, but here in Texas, it's just been raining and raining and
Yeah, I live
raining.
in Wisconsin. It's been cold and gray and raining. It's almost like where I live, the weather is behaving like everyone is feeling. It's just
Exactly.
like, yeah, oh, gross.
Yeah, and that's really not helping either, you
Yeah.
know, because where we are, we've had in the last like month, like 4 days of sunshine.
That's really interesting for Texas, right? Don't you guys usually have a little bit more, or is it that time of
It's
year?
just been last year and this year, it's just been a lot of rain, a lot of overcast. And it's like I left Seattle to get away from that.
Yeah, well, not didn't work out for you. Well,
No,
so good.
apparently
So
not.
thank you so much for sharing that. So I think a lot of people maybe aren't realizing that some of their edginess could just be, part of the energy of everything going on
Yeah.
around them. Even this interesting way to I have a daughter on the autism spectrum, and typically she can be a bit fun and challenging, and she's been hyper calm since we've been home, like super relaxed, not throwing a lot of tantrums. And I was like, oh, and she's amazingly empathetic. Like, she can't articulate it, but she's super empathetic. And she just, like, her response was almost like to calm down around everyone else. Like, I was like, do you know that if you freak out, it's going to make it worse or something? But she's like really been very chill. And
Well,
again,
maybe
that's
it's like a
awesome.
Ritalin tour.
Yeah, maybe. The chaos is making her, do the opposite.
Calm.
Yeah. Well, actually with her, like, I tend to be an essential oils fan and some other natural things, and lavender makes her bananas, which for everyone else in the house, we calm down, we get sleepy. She's like done crack or something. She's like, "Blah, blah, blah." So she tends to have different physiological and
Hmm.
emotional responses to stimulus than we do, which would make sense. The rest of us are kind of a little anxious, and she's like, okay, I got this. Yeah. Like, okay,
But
so
that's a really interesting observation, you know, and for your whole little toolbox of her ability to respond,
Yeah.
to stress.
Yeah. We're pretty, we spent well, she's 8, so we spent 6 years in applied behavior therapy. And we learned a lot. I was really glad. I mean, our life would be different and we would be completely different had we not been introduced to some of that. Like I was a technologist before now. I wouldn't have looked into oils or looked into, different ways of being, because I was going to be coding computers. And then with my
Right.
daughter, she needed different supports. And so we had to open ourselves up to new supports.
Hmm.
But with that being said,
Yes, ma'am.
you have come out with an amazing new book that seems
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
getting really good reviews. So would you mind telling us a little bit about the book that you just put out?
Sure. So the name of the book is The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist. And what it looks at is the dynamics between the highly sensitive empath and the self-seeking narcissist. Um, One of the things that it does is, all right, so one of the things that I bring to the table is that many times people get into these very unhealthy relationships because there is some kind of early childhood wounding or some kind of emotional trauma that is causing you to repeat cycles over and over again. So, for example, if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, you hear people say, oh, I married my father, or oh, I married my mother. Well, if mom was psycho,
Good job.
guess what? I just married mom. Um, and I'm kind of joking about it, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
you know and the what I have discovered is really the only way to break out of that cycle, that repeated cycle of finding the rotten apple at the bottom of the barrel, is not to necessarily go look for that magic person, although that can happen, but it's to fix yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and really look on the inside of what's going on with me. Where are my deficits? And when I can heal those things, then I will, based on the law of attraction,
Mhm.
bring someone to me that is also healed.
Yeah. That's really interesting. In general, just the two types of personalities selected, they seem as if they would be polar opposite, right? Like the real empathetic, loving, bring it in, and then the it's all about me, man. Is there a reason you pick those, like well, of course there was, but what was the reason for picking like those extremely opposite sort of personalities to write about?
Because the more unhealed the empath is, the more narcissistic type person they will bring into their life.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because the empath is caring and loving and patient, and they want to heal, and they want to take care of this other person and make them happy, because if I make you happy, then you'll love me. That's part of their healing,
Mhm.
is because they have self-worth issues. And the narcissist is like, okay, I'll let you fix me, I'll let you take care of all of my stuff. Oh, you want to support me? I'm good with that too.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so I would have thought, but that it would be the juxtaposition, because it'd be so easy to see the big behaviors on both, right? So the narcissists being, super focused on them, and then you could see the literal opposite way they almost fit together, right? It's like they fit
Mhm.
together to make one person instead of two whole people.
Exactly. In those dynamics, codependency can be part of it. Um, One of the things that I have found is that in a lot of these relationships, one of the things that narcissists bring to the table is I like to say they have a playbook. And they enter into a relationship in a very specific way, where they are all about you. It's called love bombing, and they're talking to you all the time and bringing you gifts and like being your soulmate. They leave you with this impression that they are just all about you, which can be very confusing to someone who, one, is very sensitive, and can feel this emotional energy oozing off of them. And also someone that's wounded, because it's like, oh, well, now somebody really loves me. And they get enticed by the nectar of the narcissist. Oh, I like that. I'm going to have to keep that line.
Yeah, write that down. Good. I'll write it down for you and send it to you later. All right.
But once the narcissist gets them trapped, and gets them sucked in, then they start to turn, the relationship settles down, and what was once all bright and sunny becomes maybe regular or mundane, or the empath decides, well, you did this, and I'm not going to just accept it anymore. And so they might confront them or look at them in the wrong way, or life might come up and they need to do some work. And it makes the relationship shift because now the narcissist isn't the center of their attention. And that's when they start turning and becoming, they start devaluing, and, it turns it into an abusive situation, but you're hooked. So whether you're hooked financially, whether you're hooked emotionally, it's like, unless you can sit there and love yourself enough and go, okay,
yeah,
gotta go.
So in the situation, I'm really curious. I wish I would have read the book now. I still can, which is great.
Hey.
But is there more of a likelihood or not of one of the two of those personality types healing? Like, is it more likely that the narcissist goes, I can get more if I take care of myself, or is it more likely the empath says, wow, I can love more if I heal myself? I mean, do you see a tendency for one type of personality to seek healing over another?
I mean, the empath is much, much more open to fixing themselves in the general sense of the word. They're much more in tune with what's going on in the general sense of the word. I think one of the lines in the book, The Dysfunctional Dance, is, finding a new source of narcissistic supply is a lot cheaper than going to therapy. And so I make no bones about it that the book is not written for a narcissistic person to heal, because they're really not interested, because they're a narcissist and there's not anything wrong with them.
Yeah, that's probably, I can see how it go that way. Recently I've heard from some of my friends who identify as empathetic or empath, or more East Coast, West Coasters. And one of the things I thought was very interesting is they feel like there's more people either presenting as or beginning to own the idea of being more empathetic or sensitive. Do you see that as well in your work, that there seems to be more people embracing their sensitivities?
Yes, I do. I mean, I've been doing psychic work, intuitive work for a really long time. And many years ago, I started giving a presentation about you can be psychic. And a lot of people in the audience would look at me like, no way, no way. But then you start giving them examples of what the psychic experience is like. When you feel the vibes in a room, when you're thinking about your girlfriend, Sally, and the phone rings and it's Sally, and things like that, those are the intuitive experience. It's not, I mean, I always thought when I was younger that there'd be like these clouds and trumpets would come out of the sky. I don't know what I was expecting. Something like you would see on TV, which obviously didn't happen, unfortunately. And so when you understand what the experience is, then you can start to apply it to your life, because everyone has had those experiences. And if you're sensitive, you've had them a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think there's just been a lot more information out there for people to look at and go, oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, I do that. That too. And so it's not that they're becoming more empathic, it's that they're recognizing what they are already.
Or more like people are becoming more self-aware, and if they happen to already be on that side of it, then that's part of that awareness.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, one thing that I like, when you said, you don't really remember what you thought that was when a kid. I think when I was a kid, I remember I thought psychics were people who predicted the future
Mm-hmm.
or that read other people's minds. And so that everyone was, or a medium was someone who talked to, spoke directly to your dead grandma and told you
Well, they do that.
you should clean up your laundry. But I thought like all that was kind of the same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then of course I'm not psychic. I can't read anyone's mind. I can't, but I think just like everything else, there's a spectrum, right, of how connected you are or are not. Or I guess that's actually more of a question. I mean, is there sort of a different amounts of sensitivity or amounts of empathy that
Mm-hmm.
different people have access to? Or what are your thoughts kind of on that area?
Okay. So I think that this is going to be kind of a two-part answer. I think that different people are more sensitive than others, so that there's a spectrum, just like the autistic spectrum, there's a spectrum within that sensitivity area. So obviously the more sensitive you are, the more you're being affected by this crazy ass energy on the planet. Um, but then, and I stole this word from a girlfriend of mine, or this concept, um, different people have different channels. And so people that are mediums who talk to dead people, that's their channel. Now they might be able to give you a general psychic reading, but if you ask them about their health, maybe not, or their pet, you know what I mean? I think, their level of openness to that channel might not be as good. For me, for some reason, which I didn't even ask for, I can see inside people's bodies. It was not, I just wanted to be Rita the psychic chick that talked to you about your relationships because I thought they're kind of juicy and gossipy. And I'm very good at looking at the dynamics between people and the flow that's going on. Little did I know that I would end up doing health work,
Yeah,
but I'm apparently very good at it, which is okay.
that's good.
Um,
Yeah, so you got to work with what you're given, right?
Yeah, and not fight it. There are some people, there is this one gentleman that I know who identifies himself as a psychic,
Mm.
mm, but as an energy healer, he kicks butt, and so we all have our ways of bringing stuff in, whether it's you're more visual, you're more feeling, you're more auditory, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that. So, we didn't even talk about that, but outside of being an amazing author, you're and being a doctor and being in the naturopath and all of that. Right now, I think what I saw a lot about is it being an intuitive healer, right? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Hmm.
So, because we can run over if you're comfortable, but I'm curious, like I don't actually really know what that is. I mean, I've had a couple people say that or bring it up, and what would that mean to someone? How would they know to come to someone who's an intuitive healer?
Okay, so I mean, I think the more common phrase is, someone that does energy medicine or energy work,
A lot, yeah, energy
you
work
know,
or something like that.
right. And so the basic concept of that is that, our physical body is the densest level of our being. And so but attached to us in our auric field are four different bodies: our etheric body, which is the blueprint for the physical body; the emotional body that carries our emotional energy; the mental energy; and the causal body, which is kind of the shell that separates us from everybody else. So that would be like the edge of the auric field. And so someone that does energy medicine, they send vibrations of energy that directly affect one of these bodies. Because if there's something going on, it's kind of like if you have an emotional issue going on, it's kind of like you got this giant lump, a knot of emotion sitting somewhere in that emotional body. And so the energy medicine practitioner is like vibrating it or taking a comb to it and breaking up that lump so that now your energy can flow smoothly, because it's supposed to flow. And if it's not flowing, then it's messed up. And that's when you start experiencing issues. Wrote a whole book on that one too.
Yeah. Really.
Avoiding the cosmic 2x4, just in case anyone's interested.
Well, yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's really a great topic. So, um, is it fair to say that if there's like kind of a knot in any level of those energy fields, then that's kind of the key to part of being the sickness is from one of those blocks in energy?
Exactly. So what I have seen is that in most cases, so, if you break your arm, you broke your arm.
Yeah.
You know what I
Physical.
mean? It's,
Yeah.
it's a physical thing. But if you develop cancer or diabetes or gallbladder disease, that means that something from outside of you has infiltrated all of those bodies. So at some point in time, it was a thought that was sitting out there. But now this thought is being triggered to the point that it actually created something physiologically inside of you.
Hmm. Okay.
And so once it actually hits the physical body, there are physical things we can do. You can work with herbs and supplements, you can do energy work, you can use oils, whatever. But in addition to dealing with the energetic aspect, after a certain point in time, you have to really deal with the physical aspect as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you. So, who's an ideal client for you? Like, if somebody were thinking, "Oh, I have this going on," you would say, "Yep, call me. Call Dr. Rita. That's what I love to help people with."
Um, I work with people all over the gamut. And it's interesting because people call with stuff that I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I got my computer. Because all I need to do, if I know that this thing is like a blood issue or this thing is a liver issue, then it lets me go and let me look at your liver and see what's going on
Mhm.
with that. I like clients, to me, it's not about the issue. And I have from alien stuff to attached entities. I mean,
It's gone all over.
psychic attack, weird stuff. So I will go anywhere that the client needs me to go. What I need from them is them to be open, because I just report what their body tells me. It's not my job to judge it or to make it up. I just am like, this is what I see, this is what I get.
Yeah.
And for them to be open. And I find that most people that contact me, have already kind of been on their spiritual path, you
Yeah,
know.
they're probably not going to go reach out to you if they've never ever contemplated anything natural or energetic, right? Or do you end up getting, I mean, gosh, do you end up getting a lot of people who have tried, like feel like they've tried it all and now they're trying like more of an alternative path, or is it more on their journey that they kind of
All over the place. I have some clients that are more educated in supplements than I am, because of what's going on with them. They've just done tons of research, and it's like, okay, you're going to be a little bit challenging for me. Okay, so maybe not so super smart people, um, but I have people that have gone the medical route and they're not really getting answers, or they're getting multiple answers and they're not feeling really congruent with any of them. I have people that won't go to the doctor and see me as their primary point of contact. And if I tell them to go to the doctor, they'll go, but that's not like my knee-jerk reaction with
yeah.
people. Um, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, all
So
over the
pretty
place.
much so if you don't know what to do with it, call the doctor. She'll give you some insights
Pretty
into what
much.
to consider. Well, where can
Yeah.
people find, I mean, it sounds like there's so many books. So where can people find books, or how can they contact you if they would like, to use your other services?
Sure. So the main portal to everything, Dr. Rita, is soulhealer.com. 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 So you can find all my books. There's a bunch of videos on there, articles, weird stuff. I mean, because I cover a lot of different areas. All of my books are available on Amazon, including the newest book, The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and Narcissist.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rita, for your time today. And I hope that you get lots of rest and get a little bit of a break from the energy that's going on around you right now.
Thank you. Excellent time here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Anytime. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.